Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing a discussion over Witchcraft, which is the newest solo game from Salt and Pepper Games. This is from the same designer team and publishing team that did Resist. Now, in this video, I will not be comparing the two because I haven't played Resist, so I obviously couldn't. But from my understanding, they're roughly similar, at least in terms of some gameplay. Obviously, this has some differences with, like, the juror and persuasion and stuff like that, but that's the extent of my knowledge between the two. Now, if you've watched the channel before, you know that I am typically not a solo player. Like, even though I have quite a few solo variants and run-throughs and discussions over them, I mainly play those for the channel, and then I really never touch them again. However, it is kind of funny that this year I have done reviews over solo-only games quite a bit, and one I just recently did was over 20 strong. So I might just be lying to myself saying that I'm not a solo gamer, but anyway. What do I think of Witchcraft? Well, this is a theme that is kind of popular, or it's coming up, at least within my own personal life as well, because I'm going to become a witch. No, it just seems that this is kind of the buzz. There was another game that came out of the same theme called Septima, which is about a coven of witches, and I think it is a wonderful theme. This game is loosely centered around the Salem witch trials, although the theming, the world, are all fake. Like, it's like, hey, the Salem witch trials happened, but they mentioned at the beginning of the rulebook that it's meant to be an honorable depiction of those horrific acts. It's bringing, you know, the witches up and defending the village from these horrible supernatural things that are pulled from a bunch of different folklore. And I think that's really cool. I like that little twist on it. I think that by being like, hey, by the way, we're actually, yeah, we have powers, but we need those powers to defend from Baba Yaga and from Jenny Greenteeth or the possessed tree or things like that. So it's like, we're going to help and we're going to show our powers, but at the same time, through fear and unrest and uncertainty, you're still going to jail us, so we still have to persuade you that we're good. Yeah. Theming is really cool. The art is fantastic. I really like the depiction that they did for all the different missions that you go on. The twist with, like, the dual-sided cards where it shows, like, their villager or their hidden side where they're regular people, and then, like, just a different art style of the same person when they're a witch. Like, Jay Bonesplitter is, like, it looks like a traveling merchant, and then whenever they're ready to throw down, they pull out a shield with a skull on it and a massive, you know, magic mace. There's Adelaide Miller, who just looks like a young little schoolgirl on the hidden side, and then she's this powerful lightning summoner as the witch. I think that's really neat. But what I find extremely fascinating about this game is how much control you actually have as you're playing. There's a lot of different combos you have within the different families of the witches. So at the very beginning of the game, you draft witches until you have your own deck, and you can create a lot of really cool synergies with that. You can go all in on one particular family that's like, hey, for each person of this family that you play, you know, do this better ability. You could diversify, so you could deal with whatever is kind of coming your way. But you're not deck building in this at all. You're actually deck deconstructing, because whenever you're playing, you have a hand of 5 cards. So let's just say these are the 5 witches in my hand. You get to play witches for their powers, and mainly you're going to be playing witches that will say reveal challenges. Challenges are these face-down cards on the missions that you have to deal with, as well as whatever the mission itself says. You're mainly going to be doing that so you can kind of get some insight, and what I really like about this game is you get to, I'm about to cry, is you get to play witches before you even choose a mission. So let's say you're like, oh, this mission looks really easy, and then you play a few cards, flip over some challenges, and you're like, That's not even beatable anymore with what I currently have. So never mind. Going to course correct, and I'm going to go and do a different mission. Now, you did use those witches to reveal that information, so you can't reuse them, but it's like, well, now I know and I can plan ahead. Then you choose a mission, and then you continue to play witches. And I like the fact that whenever you're playing, you get to, play their hidden or revealed side. And then whenever, then you choose a mission, and you can do the same thing again. You're not, locked in on being play hidden witches. Okay, now choose a mission. Now play revealed witches. It's not like that. You have a lot of freedom with what you're dealing with, which is really cool, considering the fact that the challenges are completely random. The deck is constructed with, I think it's 20 basic cards, but then depending on your jurors, you'll have challenges that are kind of thematically tied to them in the challenge deck as well. So that also gives you some type of insight. If you're going up against Hackett, you know kind of what he's going to be bringing in the challenges. You don't know where or when they're going to pop up, but you know kind of what he's dealing with. And you gather that kind of insight. But I still, even though those are random, you still never feel like you're really top decking because of the way you get to play your witches. It's not like, oh, okay, I play all your cards, now reveal all the challenges and hope that you're able to kind of do stuff. You can be like, oh, okay, I'm going to play this one, that reveals this. Okay, Cursed Chickens, it's only strength 2, I'm going up against 8. Okay, I've already calculated my max power, which could be 14, so I'm still good there. And then you reveal, then you're like, now I'm going to go. Okay, that's a 3, that's a 2, and that's another 2. Oh, wait, that's a familiar. I have a card or a witch that lets me take a familiar, so that gives me that. So you get to react, or you get to be proactive, and then you get to be reactive. And also, this game is still relatively challenging. Even though I'm talking about the freedom of playing, it's not like, oh, well, what's the point? You're going to win anyway. No, because you're not going to know the values. You might know there are a bunch of wild boars in the deck, but you don't know what the value of which wild boar is going to be out. And you also have to pick and choose. If you add up all your power and going up against a mission 8 and you have 14, okay, well, you can choose to deal with the mission that's 8, so now you have 6 left over, but you have 10 of the challenges left, so you have to decide what you can deal with and what you can't. It's like, okay, that wild boar is a 3, that'll make me lose a random hidden witch. I played all my witches as hidden, so I don't know which one I'm going to lose. Oh wait, that possessed is there. If I take care of that one, I'll get to see a conviction card on that one, which will let me know how much I have to persuade them. Oh, and there's a familiar. It's that kind of stuff. Also, having ways to recruit more witches into your coven is nice. I'm glad you're not just stuck with the cards that you drafted at the beginning. Because what's also really neat, I mentioned this game was deck deconstructing, is every witch obviously has better revealed powers. So whenever they come out as a witch, it's either a buff of their hidden power, or it's just a straight up buff of their actual power. However, after you're done with the mission, all the witches that you played as revealed go to jail, which is better than the alternative of what it was in real life. So, but that's not the end of it, because there are some families that are really good about getting people out of jail. So it's not like they're gone and removed from the game, although you're the one making that decision. If you're like, oh, okay, do I risk it? That's them. They have a really good hidden power. Do I want to keep that for the whole game, or do I want to use their once per game revealed power? I don't know. Can I get them back? Maybe. You never know. Depending on the mission. Some missions have a success that say, oh, get someone out of jail back into your coven. This game just feels very fair. And I also like the fact that you can take penalties, and that's not the end of the world. There are it was funny reading the rules. It's kind of like, oh, by the way, if you do this, you lose. If this happens, you lose. If this happens, you lose. Just kind of as you're reading. And you can lose in multiple ways. If you ever draw a hand of 5 cards and there are no witches, you lose. If you ever have to draw a curse card, which curse cards just go in your deck, they just basically clog up your deck. If you ever have to draw a curse card and you can't, you lose. There's a small village deck that ranges from 0 all the way to 3. When you have to lose a villager's card, you just flip that over, and if that ever is 5 or higher, like the total value is 5 or higher, you lose to me, because you're trying to defend the village. So if they just die, or if too many villagers die, it's like, well, we didn't really defend them. But I think that's the only way. Oh, and also when you go to trial and you haven't convinced enough jurors, you pretty much lose. There's like, if you convince all 3 of them, that's like a super win. You convince 2 out of the 3, it's a draw. If you convince only 1, you lose. And then obviously if you don't convince any, then you super duper lost. But the I like the fact that whenever you are deciding to, fail certain things, you're allowed to do that. You can be like, well, I can handle putting a curse into my deck, or well, I can handle flipping over a villager's card. You're able to make minor mistakes, which softens the blow of, randomness from a deck of challenge cards. And I like that. Some games, like, I guess this is technically cooperative. I'm cooperating with myself. Some of them are just, like, insanely brutal, where you have to be as efficient as possible, and if you make any mistake, you're guaranteed to lose, and that's, like, annoying whenever it's like, well, I can't control what the deck is putting out. I could do my best, but you're allowed to make some mistakes. One thing I also really like about this game is I like the conviction cards, because you have a conviction deck, which ranges from all the way from 1 to 6. And there's only 1 6. There's 1 1, 2 2s, 3 3s, 3 4s, 2 5s, and 1 6. So there are families that deal with revealing the conviction cards. And whenever you're revealing those, that gives you some insight on how much they're on your side. Some will be insanely high, like my Angel needed 10. She was actually the one that I didn't convince in this latest game. I had 8, and I was like, there's no way because I even removed, she was a 6 at first, 6 and 5. And I was like, that's insane. And I got rid of the 6 and replaced it with a face down one. I'm like, I'm at 8. Chances are it skews 3 and 4. It's probably 3, so I just meet it. We're good. Everyone else I got. Martha was a 1 and a 2. And Hackett happened to be a 3 and a 4, and I had 7, so I met him. Martha was on my side from the very beginning. She's like, hell yeah, women! Angel was like, I fucking hated all of you bitches from the start. I hear there was nothing you could do to convince me. I have it out for you. Probably because we didn't let Hannah recover, because she smells weird. But yeah, it was like, well, that's that. I didn't get her, even though, like, the very next card would have been a 4 anyway. So, doesn't matter. It wasn't happening. But that's okay. I also like when you complete missions. The missions are assigned to a specific juror, so it's like, hey, by the way, Hackett, we got rid of that possessed tree, and you can give him 5 persuasion, or you can give someone else 3. Like, I like the fact that you don't have to beeline and go after one specific juror. If you're like, well, this is an easier mission for me to do, well, Martha needs 3. I have 6. I don't need to convince her anymore. I can do the gather medicine at the edge of the woods. I don't need to give her 4. Okay, well, I'll still complete it, and I'll put 2 somewhere else. I like that. This game just feels very giving, while also making you still feel challenged the entire time. And there's a ton in this box. I don't know if Resist was like this. I'm pretty sure it probably was. But this game was insanely cheap, which is why I also backed it, because I'm like, well, why not? And you have a ton of different of cards, a ton of different witches that you can combo. The missions are done in 3 different acts, and you have a ton of different jurors that come in. The jurors themselves, their persuasion doesn't change. It's still -3 up to 16. But they each, all the different jurors, have different acts of missions. So they each have 3, which come with a bunch of different ways to play. And then also, the challenge cards are tied to the jurors. So you're going to have a lot of variety of just randomly placing the jurors out, which is going to cause random challenges and different missions that you're going to have to go up against. And on top of that, this is also based off of the fact that you draft your coven at the very beginning. You also have this Tales of the Wildegrens scenario book. So these are essentially, it's not like a campaign as far as I can tell. I think it's just different ways to play. It might be a slight story overall, but it's not like this massive narrative thing. You're not going to be pulling Foreteller out for this. But there are 9 different tales that have different setup instructions and ways to play. So you also will have that. Yeah, I mean, negatives, I really don't have any. Like, not a lot. Yeah, I mean, you could theoretically, I mean, it's a deck game. It's a card game. You could just get dicked on your hand, and then you still, because you have to play your witches. You can't hold them. I mean, theoretically, you don't ever have to do the ability, so it's kind of like, you know, a deck builder where it's like, you have to play out your whole hand, but you don't really have to use any of the cards. So if it's like, oh, well, I don't want to move a face-down conviction card, you don't have to. So you just have to play them. It's really just, you can't hold witches over from round to round. So theoretically, you could play this, and you could have a really bad hand of like 3 curses and 2 witches, and still have to go pick a mission, and you know you're gonna fail it. So that's just kind of the way it is. I have never, really had that happen. Like, but that's kind of like just getting a dead hand in any deck builder. Even though this isn't a deck builder, you just try to mitigate the negatives as much as possible. But also, another way you can lose is if you fail 2 missions. So one change that I noticed was whenever you fail a mission, you actually just flip it over, and now you only have 2 missions to choose from. And if you obviously fail a second one, then you just lose. So, but I mean, if you're getting that kind of hand, then just reset up the game. It's very, very clean to set up and tear down. I think it's great. I think it's great, and I really like the theme. Even though obviously the Salem Witch Trials and the Witch Trials in general were horrendous and completely fucked up, but it's this is a game and not real life. So yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna give Witchcraft a 9. I really like it. I again can't compare it to Resist, so I don't know if the differences or anything like that. I know the theme of Resist is, it's a war theme. I think it's the Spanish War. I don't know which one, though. Anyway, this is more my speed anyway, so I really kind of lean more into this than the other one. Really wish I could tell you if it's worth owning both. I don't know. I guess if you have played Resist and you watch this video and you're like, oh yeah, all that sounds great and different enough, well then great, get both. But yeah, that is my thoughts on Witchcraft. Let me know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.